Concerning Humanity channel, a lot of people have been asking me to cover the story revolving around P. Diddy, and I guess what we could call Diddy Gate, and what my thoughts are on it. And I want to make it clear that I believe all of these celebrities in Hollywood are all involved in the same thing that Diddy is being accused of. And do I feel that he's fully guilty of the things that they're saying he's guilty of? Well, without a shadow of a doubt. I think you can look at a lot of these celebrities and their careers as fronts for what they really do. I mean, billionaires, some of these guys, from Diddy to Jay-Z. Yet most people don't know a majority of their songs, and when you look at them in comparison to other musicians, you wonder how they're worth so much more money and how they rub shoulders with politicians, right? All of a sudden, guys like Diddy over the last decade or so and guys like Jay-Z are hanging out with presidents. I mean, they're supposed to just be rappers, just like other musicians are supposed to just make music. But I think we can all see the connection between them. So do I believe that he's guilty of these crimes? Yes. But I think it's very safe to say, and just like I had said when the story first broke, that what they're doing here is obviously gaslighting and gatekeeping truth. And I think that they create these stories out in the open to get people emotionally sucked in. And then what we're seeing now come of this, again, it continues to feed into the left-right divide. Because all these celebrities in Hollywood identify as Democrats. And just like the stuff with Epstein, all of these people seem to have their names associated with Puff Daddy. And then conveniently, they all seem to scrub their Twitter accounts and scrub all these things, which makes them look, what? Even guiltier, right? So the story that's out there with Diddy is that everybody feels like he's going to be, quote unquote, Epstein. But the reason that I don't believe that this story that's out there has truth to it, other than the fact that he's guilty, is because they feed us these stories. We never need to know about any of these things. You have to look at the government, and you have to look at the FBI and the CIA as the mob. You can't look at it and say, well, there could be somebody who's a good person on the inside who's going after Diddy. Well, if all these people were connected to Diddy, then that FBI officer would likely die in his sleep or never be seen from again or get framed for something. It's like the mob. There aren't people independent in the government anymore who are trying to take down these types of rings. It's just not happening. But unfortunately, the majority of civilians believe that there are good people still in government. But that's, like I said, the same as saying, well, there's good mobsters and there's bad mobsters, right? What, suddenly somebody grew a conscience and you don't think the people around this FBI agent or these FBI agents or these CIA agents were telling people higher up saying, hey, you know, they're going to try to bust this guy, and then all of the Democratic politicians and all of the celebrities who have been gaslighting and playing the role of Democrat out in the open are all going to be linked to this, and their names are going to be dragged through it. The person or the people who would be trying to go after Diddy would have been threatened that they would lose their jobs, or they would have just been taken care of quietly. So these stories are out there because they want them to be out there. And that's what people have to remember about the news being manufactured. And do I think they will likely Epstein Diddy? Well, very likely, but anybody out there that thinks that Epstein's actually dead is, to my opinion, out of their minds. Completely out of their minds. The entire thing was a charade. The entire thing was a show, and he was likely, like they all are, sent overseas to live in a place that really likes bagels, where usually they go towards the end of their lives, they get a little plastic surgery, and they live out their time over there. So you might say, well, why would they do that? Why would they do that with Epstein? Does he want to go live privately over there? Well, a lot of that story that came out took full attention away from what a lot of us believe was a real story, which was involving that pizza parlor, because all that stuff with Epstein came out right after the fact, and the government was feeding you lists and flight logs and all of this other crap, while your attention was completely taken away from Instagram posts, associations between pizza parlors and the local, charities that were all involved in art galleries that were all laundering money. So that served its purpose because it's still discussed today, and everybody out there believes the narrative, right? They fed you the narrative about how he was in a cell and how that happened. How about if he was really arrested? Why would they even ever tell you any of this stuff going on with him in a prison cell? Why would they just continue to feed you a narrative where it makes it so obvious that they want you to think that he was whacked? Because that's really how these people work. They deceive you. So the story with Diddy, everybody knows, right? Diddy is being accused of being involved in trafficking, and then all these names come up like Bieber, Kardashian, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Pink, Usher, and all these people just scrub their social media as if they don't realize that everybody out there would look and say, well, this is really suspicious. Now, all one really has to do is look at the behavior of these celebrities to know what they're involved in. Pink specifically, with the abuse done to her own or his own actual children, or the Kardashians, etc., right? So let me start here with Diddy. We've seen Diddy over the years doing the all-seeing eye symbolism. We've seen Diddy, holding his finger up over his mouth, the vow of silence. And remember, what usually occurs with these people, I talked about this, I've called it Mozarting, right? Mozart, Mozart, the piano, the music. Mozart was somebody who was on the inside. He was a Freemason. A lot of his music was written specifically for Masons and their rituals. And Mozart was a drunk, and he started chattering. He was chattering with people about what the Brotherhood was really about, and his ego was getting very, very big. And he actually was threatening to turn his back on all the people in his Brotherhood. What happened to him was he had a quiet, mysterious death where nobody attended his own actual funeral. This is somebody we still talk about in today's world because Mozart's an example that they made. And he's the one that they continue to use. Now, they don't expect the common public out there to know that they whacked Mozart. But my point being is that Diddy wouldn't get a trial. He wouldn't be able to bring all these people's names into the dirt. Diddy would have had an accident like most of these celebrities do, like Robin Williams or any of these other guys that mysteriously go. They're putting this on because it's a charade. Now, one of the things people should look at to realize the American people are being completely played is some of the stuff between Diddy and Trump, right? There are dozens upon dozens of photos of those two together. And most people, obviously, who are stuck in this psychosis did the same thing with Epstein. They gave Trump a complete pass, even though there was a woman in California in 2016 who tried to sue Epstein and Trump. And of course, the judge dismissed it because if you understand how all this stuff works, the judges will dismiss these things if they actually come to light unless they want them to come to light. And you may remember in the past, even Trump on The Apprentice, this video's kind of gone viral, where he talks about being Diddy's #1 fan and he loves Diddy. And well, you can listen for yourself.
This woman, because working for Diddy for 6 years, trained me to have to be perfect.
Working for Diddy?
Absolutely.
I love Diddy. You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy. Is he a good guy?
I don't want to answer that question.
Why? I think he's a good guy. I'm going to stick up for him.
Right, so that's Trump talking about Diddy. Obviously, from the pictures, you can see they're very closely affiliated. And, of course, he loves Diddy so much that Diddy's out in public, of course, saying that Trump is a awful human being that needs to be banished out of his own mouth. These are his words.
White men like Trump need to be banished. That way of thinking is real dangerous.
So how do people not take these clips and then start to say to themselves, are we being played? I mean, these people are clearly associated with each other because they refuse to come out of the left-right paradigm. And now, with this election coming up, I don't think for 1 second that this isn't out there for any other reason than to continue to gaslight between the two sides, because all conservatives are saying is that, look, all these Democrats are associated with Diddy, and Diddy's associated with this just like Epstein, and they continue to get away with it. They continue to, and they will continue to, because Epstein was never found guilty. He was sent away. And they sent a message with that entire situation where they literally were handing the American public flight logs, which they would never have to give out, and they were doing it deliberately. And all the people on that list, of course, happened to be all of these Democrats like Tom Hanks, all these people that we constantly see telling everybody to vote communist, vote Democrat, right? Now, some of the other stuff I've shown in the past, because I covered this a few months ago that I have to put in here, if you never saw this video clip of this young girl who posted this to TikTok/Instagram, you have to see this creepy clip of Diddy with this young girl. Now, obviously, with everything that's come out, it makes me wonder if this was put out there deliberately, too. Because remember, they psychologically work everyone, okay? Does that mean that things aren't going to make social media organically? No. That's obviously something that can occur. Something like this can be uploaded to social media. And then, of course, you could look at it and say, whoa, how did we not see this beforehand? But this is just absolutely disturbing. And this right here should have had him arrested pretty close to that time period that this was uploaded. Because how does somebody not associate what they're seeing in this video with grooming?
Ava, Scorpio.
No. What's your last name?
Ava.
What's your other last name?
Ava Barone.
Eva Baroni Combs? Yes, it's breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. I want you to tell them the story about how I adopted you. But you still have beautiful parents but you're my child also. But please tell the story.
So, I was on the streets.